again, we always say we were never meant to cover so much local soccer because there really wasn't anything. Now there is a team that has come and gone, changed, rebranded. Now Albion, San Diego Loyal, who came over, and almost the remnants of Soccer City, and everything that that whole movement meant to the people that have been here for a while, right? Like, we know the individuals up to Landon Donovan, right, who has been
Mm-hmm.
invested here in San Diego for a good part of the last decade, just trying to get some sort of soccer started here. Now, San Diego Loyal comes in, they get it going. They build something really cool, you know, very unique, and it's what this league provides in the USL Championship. And it was new to everybody. It was new to like,
We
again,
knew
other than
nothing.
Alan Underwood.
We knew
Other than
nothing.
Alan Underwood, like, name me somebody else who was
Alan
maybe
has named DK that knew a lot
okay.
of MLS,
DK, okay,
but
shout out DK.
yeah, uh,
Um, and
but
so yeah,
yeah, like it's crazy because teams have gone apart, right? Like 1904 became Albion San Diego. We've seen other podcasts grow and then don't stick around as well. But this past 3 years have been a journey for sure. And to hear reports about, I mean, stuff that we already kind of reported
we've
ourselves,
discussed, right? So
we've talked about
yeah,
it.
if you haven't been paying attention to the two balls in a mic cinematic universe, we had just this couple of instances, couple of episodes of San Diego Punto Football, which is the website that we do have currently on MLS. If you're interested, please buy us out. It's a good website, San Diego Punto Football. Like, come on. We'll make you a deal, MLS, if that's what what you're needing out of this community. And you know what, we'll bring Loyal into it because again, that's part of the discussion now, right? We've had some insider information and some sources and discuss with some stuff with the great powerful at Young the Ryan. So I mean, look, everything that was discussed kind of happened. I mean, it kind of has, and it's unraveled rather quickly.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about this end of year, maybe
He
like
said around
December,
November,
November,
December,
December, and then
maybe even
out of
sooner. He said,
nowhere, yeah,
yeah,
maybe even sooner. Than that got rocketed up earlier. Right now, actually, I sent an email over to somebody that I was connected with, hopefully to make a connection with the community, right? Because we hear that there's a lot of people who are having discussions. There are a lot of people who are having talks. Obviously, there's a
hmm
lot of secrets that can't be uh, discussed.
yeah,
to put it in the best way possible. But from what we do know, like there's two sides to everything at this point. It'll be interesting, kind of once the dust settles, exactly what's going to happen. And so over the weekend, there was a article by the boy Zeegs on the UT, kind of reporting and um, you know what they call as more official, I guess, than three guys in a garage. But again, the information was discussed. It was good information, and from what we want essentially too is as I sent that email is we want to bridge that gap if there is any between people who might want to come into the city and take for granted something that's already been built.
hmm
If that does mean because, and this is kind of very very true to the matter, right? There's another city up north that saw MLS be granted, that
yeah,
saw MLS here you go, and it was taken away. It was went through some alchemy, and out came out San Diego Wave, and they
yeah,
were further in the process, I believe, than what San Diego is experiencing right now. So yes, there are groups coming in, some more poised more than others. Um, but what I'll say is that look around, just look around. Like the signs are there, and I think that then the discussion becomes, and I think that's what kind of turned up on Twitter and social media here in San Diego when it comes to soccer, right? And this call to action now, and really hasn't been a call to action now. It's just staying true to the values and colors. And some interesting discussions were being had between supporter groups, not just of San Diego Loyal and members, but of Albion of 1904. Of like, we went through this, right? And it was different because investors and money and they rebranded and
hmm
um, you know Albion is part of the San Diego fabric, and they won. So, yeah. But again, like, is this going to happen to San Diego Loyal? That's the big question. Where let's see. What do you think? I mean, what do you? Let's reiterate. What do you want to happen to San Diego Loyal?
What I would want, like, so my personal
Yeah.
opinion on this would be
You're
my-
Alejandro Chiva,
what I would want for
Millonario.
San Diego Loyal. Ideally, I would want this to involve San Diego Loyal. Personally, just because of all the people we met through this journey, right? All the people we know from the team as well. I think it would be ideal to keep the fans happy. Once you start an MLS team, you're gonna get a whole wave of new fans. A lot of people are gonna become fans, right? That are not currently involved with San Diego Loyal, and that's a sad reality. A lot of people hear USL, San Diego Loyal, and they immediately think it's not MLS. I'm not interested. It's not the top level. I'm not
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
And it turns them off, right?
Mhm.
I think something that San Diego Loyal would benefit them is maybe winning the champion. If they would have maybe won a championship last year, I feel like it would have been a whole different story now. But I would want Loyal to be the team involved moving up to MLS. But from what reports have been said, what we've talked about before on previous podcasts, it doesn't seem that way. It seems like it's not going to include San Diego Loyal, and it does suck. And a lot of people are very upset about it, and I completely understand why everyone would be upset about it.
So to quote that article, right, from Ziegler, a name for the team has not been determined, and again, it's being spoken as if, it's a matter of fact, like it's here. Nor has any involvement from the San Diego Loyal, which plays in America's de facto second division and regularly sells out USD Terrero Stadium. Oh, that was nice of him. But scenarios, right?
Yeah.
Open the multiverse. Like, what is possible? MLS doesn't come into San Diego. That's still a
Oh
possibility.
yeah, for sure.
That is
For sure.
still a
I
possibility.
mean, look at Sacramento.
Is it gonna happen? I wouldn't put my money on that.
I think it is going to happen.
Cool. MLS comes to San Diego. All signs point to Fort Lauderdale. Like, it's there. Then they come in. So what happens now? San Diego Loyal hace pa la chingada. Like,
Are you
go
speaking
over it. We don't care. Like, we'd have no involvement. We're not even gonna give you the 1904 treatment.
Oh, like us?
And call you
Us?
the
Are you a
La
fan?
Porra. La Porra. Are you a fan of San Diego Loyal? That's going to be the question in like 2 years' time, right? Like, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be the case? Okay. Or they're involved somehow, right? Like, even to the possibility that I know people would be like, no, like, absolutely not. I wouldn't sell my soul to that. Like, everything that I've heard from San Diego Loyal, again, multiple sides, is they love what they've built and they want to cultivate and harvest what has been here for the past couple of years. But if it comes down to it, like, that's just another level. And what if it comes down to, all right, you guys will be the MLS next team?
It's going to
Like-
come down to a point on what Andrew Vasiliadis decides, right? It's going to come down to what they think would be the next step for them, whether if this is the only choice they have of like being involved with this MLS team, or we try to survive, we try to stay in the USL and compete and still do good, and you're still going to get your loyal fans. But if we're realistic, they're not going to be able to compete
Yeah, and it's
with what MLS is going to have.
It's a good point here by the good boy Andrew, host of Loyal Locals podcast. Check it out. What happened to 1904 when Loyal came in ain't even close to what MLS would mean regarding Loyal. Like, it's crazy to think that the numbers that are being thrown, right? $500 million for the expansion fee.
Yeah.
That in itself, like we were explaining to somebody who doesn't follow soccer, like this entire process, and it's just real. I'm realizing, like, okay, like, the signs are there, but like this is big time. Like, this is, oh my God, like, oh my goodness.
Yep.
I love everything Andrew Vasiliadis, Ricardo Campos have built, and everybody that has made a community and has loved, has cried. I cried. I Why not? Like, sure, like bled for the team. I was honestly jealous we had prior engagements, but I missed out on going up to Orange County on that bus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I 100% did, and I'm so glad that everybody just kind of maintains a spirit. There's times where the team, there's times where the supporters, there's times where we were like whatever. So we kind of lose ourselves, and we've essentially grown with the San Diego Loyal soccer movement, and you just don't want to see something like that, get crushed or get thrown to the side and or just disregarded, and that would be a shame. That would be a huge shame, and I know that for the most part, like people would love it if they are involved somehow. Like it just doesn't make sense monetarily, and that's something that I've always kind of scratched my head at in this learning and seeing sports people in the industry. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy. You would print money. Like you would literally print money if you just did this, if you just did that, if you just appealed here, if you just went. It's so easy to do, but you just don't. I mean, not to put anybody necessarily on blast, but like for our little nonprofit organization, it's proving out to be rather tough to get people out in the community, players, teams out in the community, because there's just so
Yeah.
much red tape, and it shouldn't be that. It should be a little simpler to have you be able to make more money for yourselves. Like utilize what's already here. Why not? Like this team it means something to people, and not just a couple people. It means something to people. Much like the soccer's mean to so much to people, much like any other team means a lot to you as an individual, like for whatever it may mean or stand for. Like it just doesn't make any sense to not necessarily consider them. With that said, none of this can matter in a couple weeks. The announcement is set to be here May 18th, 19th,
Mm-hmm.
mid-May. So whatever ends up being that announcement, whether it be yes, we're coming in, yes, we're doing this, yes, it's official, yes, granted, um, that's left to be seen. But I mean, there's still so much left on the bone for San Diego Loyal. Like, what if this ends up happening? MLS is announced 2025. They'll play at Snapdragon, San Diego FC.
Yeah, whatever. Like whatever the name
San
is.
Diego FC. Frontera. San Diego SC or Football Club FCSD. That sounds like a radio station.
Football
Football
Club
Club San Diego.
But okay, this is all with that scenario. But what if it is MLS, right? And this is a question.
Mhm.
They come in and they disregard San Diego Loyal. San Diego Loyal is on their own to do whatever they want to do, right? But what if this MLS team does start going out to the community, does start reaching out to the South Bay, does start reaching out, doing everything that we've asked for all these other teams to do, and they start doing it?
Call me a cynical person, something that Conan O'Brien asked me never to do, to be a cynical person. And I no, you okay, do it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Exactly.
Prove me
But-
wrong. Because
okay,
right now
but-
you're starting at a negative. Like you
Yeah,
need to do effort to get to a zero. Why? Because you're disregarding everything that's already happened here in the city.
Yeah.
You're putting that aside. Like that already tells me that of course it's a juggernaut of a thing. They don't care. Like when you have the magnifying glass over the ants, you don't fucking care about like their whole existence as a species. No, you just it is what it is. Oh well.
But like, so say it does start. They start building up. They go back to zero, and then they start building on that, and then it becomes like a big community team,
Mhm.
and they're out there. How long would you say it would take fans to say, okay, I'm sold with this team?
There's people that are never going to forgive. There's people who do not want to fuck with JD Wicker, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, I see your point. I validate your
Yeah.
thought from SDSU, but you know what? At the end of the day, they were the winning team. Sometimes you just have to admit like that's the winning horse, and there's people who are never going to be okay with it. There are people who are never going to be okay with what happened if it ends up happening that Loyal isn't involved. They're never going to forgive it. Now, does this mean that San Diego Loyal poof? Do they pull on Albion? Do they unite forces? Do they become their own independence? Do they become a skateboarding brand? Because they put a lot of skateboarding and on their timelines. I've never ridden a skateboard, so I know it's one of the hardest things ever to do. Tony Hawk was
Not
with
like you,
a long. I think I do a longboard.
yeah.
Yeah, I did. I used to be mad skilled on the scooter.
Scooter.
Razor scooters.
Si no te pegas en el tobillo. Uf.
Never.
Oh, never happened to
That's
you.
how good I was. And then there's that side of things where fuck, like,
And podcast wise, Tony.
yeah, that's what I was gonna.
So I mean, MLS comes in, and we have a chance to be able to cover them just how we do everything here in San Diego, right? Soccer wise. But then there's a weekend where is San Diego MLS team and Loyal play it same day, same time. What's our? I mean, there's so much we can pay attention to, and I think we focus. If we can agree, we focus so much in the local soccer scene that. I mean, you guys can tell in the podcast we haven't talked about a Premier League as much or MLS or Premier League, Champions League, Liga Mexicana, and all this because a lot of our attention and focus is on the local soccer scene.
Yeah.
Which it can get tiring to talk for hour and a half and then all right, let's focus and break down. We're not gonna break down Champions League anymore. Because at the same time, like everybody is already seeing that and everybody's already doing that.
What is?
But my question to you.
Yes. Yes.
What would our focus shift to? MLS? We still talk Loyal.
We're just two dudes.
We are.
We're just two dudes.
We don't get paid
that's-
for this shit.
Sometimes that's a lot. We have received opportunities to now get paid for
Yeah.
independent work, which is really cool. Like it's dream come true in a sense, and I'm really appreciative of all that. But, what is our goal?
To get to the World Cup.
To get to the 2026 World Cup. And look, man, I think that this presents a wonderful opportunity in order to make that stepping stone. Not saying anything has been a stepping stone. I think everything has been almost like Frogger, opportunities in between cars. Like you just hop from one place to another. Like,
And we're forever grateful for every opportunity that's been presented to us.
and I think, you know what, like we've been cordial with people who have been cordial with us. Obviously, ¿sabes qué? Te portas cabrón, pues somos cabrones también. Like it's going to happen. But at the same time, like we want to make sure that for me, at least, it doesn't feel like the sanctity of soccer, that the thing that unites us, the sport, that fundamental thing that we all enjoy, that just gets perverted and turned into mush. And here you go. There are teams that did exactly the same thing that's happening here. Austin, St. Louis, and ¿sabes qué? Austin looks awesome as hell. You cannot tell me that does not look like fun. You can't tell me that.
Vale verga, pero sí.
Vale madre, yeah, like it's fine. Like shout out CJ, like do something about it, CJ. I challenge you. But it's just a different league almost. It's literally a different league. But I think, and I would hope that people who have listened and followed us like what we bring, like what the inside stuff, because we ask the questions. Like one of the highlights of this early in the season was Darren and Jordan asking Nate Miller, incoming head coach Nate Miller, saying, "Hey, are you ready to get the hard questions? You know, when you get their post game, 2 balls and a mic is going to be ready for those questions." Like, yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Casey Stoney, yeah, we are. I wish I was able to be there and be like, "Hey, what's going on, Casey?" Wednesday we have media availability with San Diego Wave. I guaranteed either him or I, we're going to be like, "Casey,
What the heck happened?
¿qué pasó? Like, what's going on? Emily Van Egmond? That important?
that-
Like,
yeah.
are we relying on one? Like, come on. And it'll be a whole nother process of learning players, learning this, learning that. There's at the Wild Animal Park, I went and there was a brush fire in Escondido, and all the little animals with their little animal sixth sense knew it was there and started running and stampeding. It was pretty majestic. And almost in that same way, I'm just looking around. I'm like, todos los animalitos están. They're like like dogs sense earthquakes. Like they're barking at the ground. Like what's going on? Like those rumblings are happening. MLS is
It's coming.
it's yeah,
Winter is coming.
it is. But I hope that we're ready because San Diego as a media is
It's
not ready.
It's not ready.
It's
at
not
all.
ready.
It's
Look,
not ready for sure.
I would love to help facilitate conversations between people. If anybody at the in this focus group that is going to be incoming, because somebody asked me, hey, like has anybody reached out to you? Because I know people have reached out to other people, and I was like, no, they haven't, and that really put me in a like, huh, why haven't we? It's a really good point. But again, I really hope, and again, people get involved. Like, if this really means as much as it has meaned for us and for you guys as a community, then the best thing you can do is support what you have here and show everybody what an asset the San Diego soccer community has been.
Yeah.
Let me get to some comments because people are here and people are wanting to know what are the next steps. And of course, like I'd love to be with a microphone in front of the San Diego Loyal office 24/7.
Alan's also waiting on Zoom.
Well,
We're gonna get you in.
I'm
in
sure
a little
he
bit,
is.
Alan,
Seasons, Alan.
because we know he's listening. He's always listening.
The ever-present Alan. If we look over here, I mean, yeah, MLS Next, the Pro League. San Diego Loyal can exist. 5K attendance is still reasonable, but I wouldn't expect Loyal to grow a huge following in Snapdragon. And that was always kind of the issue, right? Like there were rumblings again, like, oh, Loyal's going to play at Snapdragon next season. Didn't happen, didn't pan out, but that was always in my back of my mind, like, how are they going to, fill a significant portion of that cavernous stadium at times? Because the way I'm looking at it, Chiva, Snapdragon is really cool.
It's super dope.
But it's super basic. Like it's super basic. Like sure, you're gonna get canopies. Woo. I'll be the real judge when we watch Coldplay. I'm gonna watch Coldplay live at Snapdragon. So at least we got a cool concert venue.
Antes de eso, vamos a ver a México.
And that's something else we're working on, right? We're working on the Mexico credentials for the games that are gonna be happening here. And that's just inside baseball for two balls and a mic. Like this is what we're still on that trajectory. Sorry,
yeah.
Chiva.
And I mean, like I went to the America Cholos game at Snapdragon, right? And the atmosphere that happened was insane. And I told myself, if this is what MLS could be here in San Diego, I want it here. This is great. This is what I want to experience here in my own backyard, right? Like I want to go to a game, see this atmosphere literally 10 minutes away from my house.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be insane. You talked to Piojo Herrera after the game and he said it himself, this is a nice stadium. Like I would love MLS to be here in San Diego. And, if there's professional people that are in soccer, whether it's, Piojo Herrera is a World Cup coach. And, who are we to be like, he doesn't know what the heck he's talking about? Like, dude's coached everywhere, right? So if people at that level are saying, yeah, this could very much, I can see this happening in San Diego, it's going to end up happening.
Yeah.
So that atmosphere was great. I really do want it. I really hope it involves San Diego Loyal in some way.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day,
what's going to happen is going to happen.
Our heads are going to turn that way for sure.
And I hope people are prepared to get their hearts ripped out once again if you're a Charger fan, but like prepare for it. Prepare for the worst. And that's kind of something like I've always, cared to do. And it's because then everything else is fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll let Alan here inside in a bit, but again, there's a lot of conversations in the chat, of course, about pro rel, like how would that affect it? And it's true, like why not? Like if it's San Diego's soccer capital of the city, of the U.S., that also means perhaps having a really strong MLS team and a really strong USL team. And I think right here, what Paul is saying, and I know, Alan, I see you. You're radiating in your fervor. I caught that one. If AV, Ricardo, and LD's Landon Donovan's true intentions was MLS the entire time, and not build the best USL club, that then the team will fold. Like, if that really was the case, and having conversations with each of these individuals, like on a real basis, like that's something that I think I'm allowed to do a little bit. You've had these conversations off the cuff, even Alan too, just like, hey, just this and this, just, guys being guys, in a soccer sense, in a real, like, man to man, bato bato, San Diego to San Diego, soccer fan to soccer fan, soccer player to soccer player, Landon and I, legend to legend. Um, they're in it for the right reasons, and I really don't think that that's ever been a challenge. And I can tell you from, this is personal uh, experience, that these individuals have always been gracious in everything that they've done, and true intentions has always been to represent soccer in a positive way.
Mhm.
Have there been bumps? Have there been hiccups? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that, you know they've never not had the best interest of San Diego soccer in mind. So, Alan, hi. After all of that,
Hey,
Hi,
like, I mean,
Alan.
there's a lot more that, I mean, I'm looking at these comments, Alan. Were you in the chat? Were you reading? Like, how are you? Like, what's going on with you, Alan?
season's greetings to you,
Oh,
sir.
seasons,
all kinds of
greetings, boy.
seasons.
I like it, boy. It's catching on.
Yeah, I was watching from the start of the show because I do think this is an important conversation to have, like with each other prior to any announcement, right? Like, I think the lack of any type of real community conversation around an MLS team is a little bit terrifying. But I do think there are real options for San Diego Loyal to coexist with this MLS franchise. Um, whether that's staying in the championship like Miami FC, or sorry, the Miami FC. I don't want to get
The
burnt up on
Miami
Twitter.
FC.
Like
Mhm.
the Miami FC and Inter Miami coexisting in Miami. Now, Miami doesn't draw very many people, but they've been a consistent team making the playoffs every year. And I think if there's a loyal, no pun intended, fan base, then I think people would appreciate that. You have Charlotte Independence, who moved from Championship to League One. Charlotte has an MLS team. Now there's some really shitty owners in Charlotte for the Independents. And quasi not great owners for the MLS squad.
Yeah.
But there's still a decent fan base there for Independence, and they're still somewhat successful. They're in the top third of USL League One right now. I do think there's some options moving forward that I think if people are looking for Loyal to fold, I think the only way that happens is something like St. Louis happens, where they promise that USL is going to the USL club will transition to MLS. Unfortunately, there was some shenanigans, but they ended up figuring it out. But Nashville was built to go to MLS from USL. Cincinnati was almost the same. But like almost a third of MLS clubs in existence today were somewhat plucked from lower league soccer, right? Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, Montreal, like Minnesota even. They brought those traditions with them from their lower league clubs into the MLS club. And I think what a lot of people are concerned about is what you talked about, like building on the traditions, meaning reaching out to the people who put in the work first, as opposed to, I'm a billionaire, I'm going to swoop in and basically say, I'm going to take over this market, without realizing that San Diego isn't necessarily a place that really appreciates people coming in and taking over a market.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what you're going to go ahead and battle with, if that's the case of them wanting to fight it. And what I'm thinking is, if this is just very optimistic of me, which is not typical. In the best case scenario, why not have San Diego be the one place where that does work very well, right? Like, it's just so expansive where, like, you know what? You're going to get your MLS people. And I mean, that's what Andrew's saying. Like, damn, look at all the loyal podcasts. Imagine how many will pop up for an MLS team. Like, fuck, like that's true. Like, it's a new set of challenges for me. Like, I mean,
More competition.
competition. No, but and that's the thing. I hope that we've earned enough social credits, equity in the San Diego soccer, market to have somebody look out for us or just recognize like, hey, those guys have something, and just kind of
Mhm.
build on that. And ultimately, again, the goal is to make the World Cup. And so that's, part of the thing. And that's what's so hard. Hard decisions will be made. And I'm just glad that I don't have to be the one to make the hardest decisions of actually having an MLS team or not, or including the USL team or anything in that sphere. But I mean, if it's gonna work anywhere, it's gonna be San Diego, and it's possible. Sabes que tienes Mexico, you got Mexico down there, like
I
not
mean, you
even
have
down there, right
an
here.
entire community in South Bay that you can tap into. You have entire
Mhm.
communities up in North County that you can tap into. You have the downtown area, right? So maybe MLS comes and tries to take over the downtown market, but Chula Vista Bayfront, right? They talked about, you know, there's been talks about the redeveloping the Bayfront and putting a soccer specific stadium there. And MLS was like, no thanks, but maybe Loyal does, right? Or Sockers are moving to North County to make Oceanside this kind of soccer centric location. And maybe there's something built up there. MLS goes up there with the Sockers and Wave, and Loyal stays downtown. And I think that there's enough space that if people are smart and willing to support local soccer, it can happen, right? Like we've had, 1904. And I think there's a lot of other things that went into why 1904 was not as
Absolutely,
successful,
yes.
Mhm.
right? And a lot of it came from why 1904 couldn't get into USL. They wanted local ownership. They wanted people who were invested in their community to be owners. And Aiden Hazard and Demba Ba, like amazing footballers, but what is San Diego to them? And I think that's the question people are asking about the new ownership, right?
Mhm.
Like, what does San Diego mean to this billionaire, this Egyptian billionaire who owns a team in the Netherlands, right? Like, is this just another opportunity to build his portfolio and to get into an MLS that's growing? And then $500 million is crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like, you can buy European teams in lower leagues and work them up to the Premier League for probably less than $500 million.
Oh yeah.
And that's just the buy-in, right? Like that's not anything to do with the club. That's like I'm buying a franchise. I don't own a club. I own a name as part of MLS. So I think there's a lot of conversations to be had. And I think they're going to be even more after a team gets announced. But I'm with you, Tony. I'm in the. There are clubs in town that have shown me that they're invested in the community, and I'm going to support those clubs. Like I didn't get out to see the Sockers as much as I would have liked this year, but I was watching every game on Twitch, sometimes in Spanish because I couldn't. I mean, I don't understand a whole lot, but I want to support my friends, right? You
Appreciate
support,
you.
you support Craig and what he's doing with the Sockers, and
Yeah.
and those are the people I think a lot of the diehards are going to support, and then you're going to get the average person who's just going to want to show up to an MLS match because it's MLS. But I do think there's spots for those people to coexist. Sockers have been pretty successful. San Diego's Loyal's going to have to be that successful and continue what they've been doing to continue to pull people in. But I think, Andrew was like, hey, 5K, 4K, 3K, those are like pretty decent numbers.
Yeah.
Orange
For the most
County won a
part, yeah.
championship and they're pulling less than that per game.
Exactly. And so, I mean, again, I'm glad I don't have to make these decisions. And look, there's different perspectives here, like Esteban Toscano over here, content creator, and a soccer coach here in San Diego. I look at a whole lot of MLS situation as a big opportunity to recruit the best of the best in the city for the MLS team. Like, sure, like that's a valid
different
point.
perspectives
Like
on this.
that's a very valid point for opportunities, because people are going to flock from everywhere to San Diego for this, from everywhere. Because look, MLS versus USL, mom, pa shop, Costco, and Walmart. Like, just that's what it is, and it's a machine. People are going to come from everywhere. If we're conflicted with what we have right now with Wave, Loyal, Sockers, whoever, of like you don't identify with the San Diego just because you're not a local, you're not a San Diegan, you're not a Southern California. Like don't expect that for MLS. If it happens, great. But again, this is another opportunity for local people to, just empower yourselves, put yourself in a position to where you've become an asset to soccer in San Diego, because that's the one thing that needs to always remain. It's just the game, man. Like, it's just the game. And how we experience it is, and where we experience it, that should be like point B. Like, point A is always the game, enjoying it, growing the sport, and just having a good old time. There's just so many facets to this, and as it develops, like, yeah, well, as we find stuff out too, because it's getting to the point where people tell us things and I'm like, I don't think I'm supposed to know that. So now I just kind of block my whole mind of anything that I was told to me. So it's just like, not as to say, oh, this person, oh no, like, oh no, like, put it back in. No.
And I think that's the thing too, when looking at like St. Louis, is I think the ownership came in and it was the wrong type of ownership. And I think there was some pushback from the community. And that's something that Loyal fans, if they really want Loyal to be involved in this MLS bid, like, they vote with their pocketbook, they communicate, they kind of demand that this is what they would like to happen. And who knows, right? Like, there could be an instance where they launch, these are the owners, this is the plan. And then talking to the community, they're like, oh, hold up a minute. Like, let's engage with these supporters. Let's bring in the owner as a minority share owner. Like, there are things that you can do, I think, to make it right. And you have time, you have a landing pad, like, or a landing strip, right? 2025. Like, you go out into the community and you try to do the right thing and you talk to the right people. There is a chance to change this if you don't like it when it first starts. But people are going to have to be vocal and demand what they want to demand from the club. And if it happens, then, by all means, support MLS. Go for it. Like, sure. If you don't get what you want, then vote with your pocketbook. Support the club that you want to support.
Which it could be San Diego Loyal, which also had a match this weekend.
Did they? I hardly noticed after. And again, I feel bad. I've been reached out from the club of, like, every time, again, not to self-aggrandize, but every time you guys talk about MLS to San Diego, like, I'm like, damn it, I'm going to be like having these calls. It's going to be this type of day today. Like, they don't want to hear it. They want to focus on here now, win a championship, go. That's best case scenario, at least for right now, is this team going on and winning a championship for themselves. Because, to be honest, they did book a pretty good team here. A lot that are injured, actually. But overall, I think it's going to be... I want to know already, but I don't. The moment things get announced and the moment San Diego Loyal season ends, that moment of knowing, well, this is what's going to happen. Like, season ended for San Diego Loyal. See you next year. Or good job. Or congratulations, you guys are champions. As the last act that they've ever done. Or I don't know, man. Everything is a possibility, right? And I think it's hard to ignore where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's a lot of fire and smoke.
Do you think there'd be a press conference for it, or do you think it's just going to be bam, announced,
Are we going to be
article?
invited?
For this type of things, Alan, do you know if it's normally like press conference and they have a whole thing, or is it just boom, announced, article?
No. It'll be a press conference.
Press conference, right?
Yeah.
I would assume so, right? Like, I think you want to start with a bang as opposed to a press release, right?
I sure hope so.
But I mean, yeah, maybe San Diego Loyal does. I think it was San Francisco Deltas was they won a championship and then immediately folded. Like, they went out, were like, dropped the mic, never to be heard of from again. And I think their league folded not too long after that. But while we still have them, as long as we still have them,